So Katie has cerebral palsy, and she had the portion of her brain that was affected is the portion that affects her processing skills. So it's like, for example, when she was young, she might put on her shoes and then wonder why she couldn't get her jeans on. Something like that. Or if there was a fire in the house, she might know that she should call 911, but then she might not think to the next step to run out of the house, or that kind of thing. So when she came to us, she was in fourth grade, and she was significantly behind academically without her processing issues. So that just made it a lot more difficult for her to catch up. And so she received modifications, like her writing was really slow at that time, so someone would write for her, because she was pretty verbal. So if there was a test, somebody might say the question, and then they would record her answer, word for word, however she said it. As she got older and became more skilled at that, she would write her own answers, but then they would make a modification for time, give her more time to answer the questions. She struggled, when she was younger, she struggled most with remembering a task, and that's still what she struggles most with today. If you say, please take the trash out, or empty the trash, take it to the garage, and then put a new bag in the trash can. So she will remember the first skill, and this has not changed at all in 14 years. She will take the trash out, but will sit it in the middle of the floor, and then she'll put in a new trash bag, but she totally missed that step of, I need to take the trash and take it outside. And it's not, lots of people do that, but for her, it's not a matter of, I just got distracted and forgot. It's a matter of, it just didn't make sense to her to do that. And so 2 days later, if you don't say something to her, 2 days later, that trash will still be sitting right in the middle of the floor, and no one will have done anything about it. So Katie had a terrific special education teacher at Meade High School that literally just got her and understood her. And she challenged her. Katie would get angry at times because she would challenge her to do the very best she could, and Katie would like to say things like, I have CP, I can't do that. And her teacher would be like, you have CP and you can do that, and she would make her work harder. And sometimes it was frustrating, but by the time she graduated, even though her processing is still the same, because with CP, whatever disability you have, because your brain lost oxygen, it never gets any better. So you can work around it, you can learn strategies to help you deal with it, but it's not going to ever go away. So she would get really angry about that, and processing is still an issue, but she can read at grade level, she writes really well. Not her penmanship. Her penmanship is terrible, but her thoughts when she writes are very put together, and they're pretty detailed. So I would say that her teacher at Meade really helped her with that. She had another teacher at Meade who was completely oblivious to her IEP. I mean, it was there and it was in her file, and she was very... I don't want to say that she called Katie out a lot because she wasn't doing the right thing, but she was pretty dismissive of the fact that she needed some accommodations. And so even though it was written there, so I would say for educators, especially in a general education classroom, you don't want to ever just ignore it and pretend it will go away, because it's not going to go away. I think her disability, as it relates to the family, of course, we adopted her when she was 9. It was very hard for me to recognize her disabilities at first. I just felt like if I say it enough times and make her practice enough times, she can do it. And there were things that she did not do at 9. She wouldn't go up the stairs by herself because she wanted somebody to carry her. And that never happened. I mean, I said, well, you can figure out how to get up the stairs. Because there was no real physical ailment. I think she was slow. And so in her foster care homes, it was simpler to carry her up the stairs than wait for her. Mm-hmm. And so we always just made her do it. So we were really disciplined in that way, that we weren't going to let her be more disabled than she needed to be. And that was hard at first, because you tend to go either way. You either want to help them too much, or you get frustrated that they can't do something they should be able to do. Mm-hmm. And so that was a learning process for our whole family. The other 2 younger kids would do everything for her. Tie her shoes, zip her coat, and I would be like, if you're going to wear a coat, you're going to zip it. If you're going to wear shoes that tie, you're going to learn how to tie them. And she did. I mean, Katie pretty well. Mm-hmm. She's a pretty motivated kid if there's something she wants to do. Mm-hmm. She's not very technical, but yet when we got her a cell phone, somehow she figured out how that thing worked and how to use it. So I would say that our family both is extra helpful to her at times, a little more gracious maybe, but other times we really push her. I would say with her special education teachers, there was a lot of probably over communication in that you never lacked for information. Mm-hmm. I would say in her regular classroom, general education classroom experiences, that it was harder to get information. If you're not really careful, special education students tend to be one of 2 ways. They're either disruptive and demand attention, or they tend to just be quiet and they don't want to draw any attention to themselves. Katie was one of those. Mm-hmm. And so it's easy to ignore them, not in a bad way or on purpose, but it's just easier they don't want to be noticed, and so it's easy not to notice them. So I would say I did not get a lot of great input from general education teachers. I think that was pretty universal. I don't think she ever had a teacher that was really great at that. I would say that would be something in education that may be changing. Mm-hmm. And it's been, she's 22, so it's been a while since she's been in elementary education. So, but yeah, I would say that was definitely not a real positive. It wasn't a negative because Katie's a good kid and we made her do work at home. So it wasn't a negative, but it wasn't like it wasn't a great thing. Mm-hmm. There wasn't a lot of communication. Okay. Special education kids want to be treated like everyone else. They sense that they are like everyone else. Katie doesn't really often know that she's not doing what other people are. Now that she's older, she is more aware that kids her age are in college and that she's not. But when she was in school, she really, in her mind or youth group, whatever, volunteering, she felt like she was equally capable, equally able to do the task. And I would say that most of our experiences around Spokane were that people allowed her that freedom and ability. I think a lot of times we want to overcompensate it's a fine line because you don't want to pretend they're like everyone else. So in your mind, the teacher's mind, you have to know that the kids are different and that their brain works differently, and figure out what is their disability and learn something about it. I went into a teacher one time and said, well, she had CP, and they were like, what is that? And I'm like, you should know that. And so I would, basically say, treat them as like everyone else as much as you can. Expect a lot out of them, but not in a demanding way. Mm-hmm. I mean, just kind of raise the bar for them. They can do a lot more than you think. And on the other hand, take special care. They may have emotional needs. Katie's easily frustrated, so she would, be writing was hard for her, so she would write and then she would just scribble her paper when she was younger because she was frustrated that she couldn't finish it.
Mhm.
So give them another one and say, try again, but maybe only make them write this much instead of this much.
Mhm.
So get to know the child because they're all going to be different, and get to know something about what's their disability, what's wrong with their processing, what's wrong with their ability to solve a problem, whatever it is. That's what I would say. That is my advice.